Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the Deal with D and J. I am your co-host, DJ McCatherine, with my buddy in the press box, Jacob Rail. How do you get that set up?
You got to know some people, got to have access. That's how I get it. This is our press box here at football. Nice and AC'd. So keeps all the technology cool. So decided to come in here a little bit away from my office and try and get this podcast going during my lunch break.
All right, so let's get her going. A big weekend for college football. Texas looks good, Jacob. We're just going to hop right in. Texas, Michigan this week. I had Texas on upset alert. Did not go as planned. That Michigan team is bad and really bad. And I'm not don't want to take anything away from Texas. They played really good, sound football. Quinn Ewers looked calm, cool, collected in the pocket, throwing dimes. But that Michigan team was not as advertised. There's not as good as we thought they were going to be coming into the season. We knew they lost a lot of personnel, and the loss of Harbaugh and Connor Stallions would play a part coming into this season. But I was not expecting that type of performance from Michigan. And shout out to Texas because they came in 110 plus thousand fans and shut them up nice and early. A lot of them leaving at halftime. So,
Yeah. Yeah, this game, it was more in the sense of just Michigan wasn't ready. The whole offseason, they were prepping two quarterbacks, which is tough to do to make any quarterback feel ready week two into a top five team like Texas with a sound quarterback and a sound coach. Quinn Ewers looked great moving in and out of the pocket, looked great throwing on the run. Blue, the running back, looks dynamic and explosive. Wide receivers making tough catches in the middle of the field. I'm really impressed with Texas and how they took care of business. But like I said, I think the story is also Michigan just looked terrible. They couldn't get anything going on the run. They couldn't get anything going in the passing game. Donovan Edwards did what he could, but this team has a lot more work than I think we anticipated. I didn't know, Davis Warren I thought was going to be a better fit, but I think because of them doing the whole tandem thing all preseason, I think this is starting to kind of bite them in the butt a little bit. But it's early. It's week two. We saw Alabama struggle last year in the same sense, and they became a top four team. So there's still a lot of season left to play if you're a Michigan fan, especially with the 12-team playoff. And the thing is, like teams, teams 10 and 11 are not, looking like incredible either. Right. You have Oregon holding on to a 9 spot, right? Let's go ahead and kind of jump into Oregon, Boise
yeah,
State.
let's do it. Another team on
And
my upset alert this.
how Boise State basically took it to Oregon. They shot like blow for blow, punch for punch. Jonty is an amazing running back. This guy
Oh my
looks
gosh.
so good. And Maddox looks so good in the pocket. This Oregon secondary is scaring me a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
They seem a little bit confused in coverage and different things like that. And Dylan Gabriel, I'm surprised they're not just moving the ball like at will with
Right.
Dylan Gabriel in that offense. It feels like that's like a perfect schematic fit for him. And then
Right.
even then, the offense seems lackluster at times. Now, granted, Oregon kind of got a little bit bailed out with a special team, but sometimes it's an all phases type of win against a tough group of five team like Boise State. And Boise State, I think, is going to obviously, I think they're number one to take over that group of five spot at the moment in time. But, I think it's one of those things where you kind of sit back and you look and you're just like, what the heck's going on with Oregon? Because they struggled against Idaho. They struggled against Boise State.
Mm-hmm.
What's going to happen when they have their first big matchup? Not saying that this wasn't a good matchup, but what happens when they finally go into Big Ten country, right? And going up against a team where they can play really good fundamental ball,
Right.
right? Because that's, the next game's against Oregon State. Oregon State could potentially, like, every week it feels like Oregon's kind of like on upset alert within the first 2 weeks of the season.
Right. And this Boise State team, I mean, if it wasn't for a couple of special teams returns by Oregon, Boise State has this game won. I believe they had two special teams returns. I believe at least one kickoff return after a great drive by Boise State. So Boise State, great drive, and then Oregon sucked the life back out of them with that kick return. And just to point out, Ashton Jonty again, dude's averaging 10 yards a carry, 459 yards on 45 carries and 9 touchdowns in 2 games. Dude should be a front runner for the Heisman right now.
Yeah, dude had 100. Dude had 25 carries, 192, and 3 touchdowns in this game.
It,
So it's a
it's
clear identity
ridiculous.
for the Boise State Broncos. They look as good as any team, honestly, right now. I don't know if they're ranked, but they should be, even though they lost. I think this is just a remarkable performance out of the Boise State Broncos going into coming out of that game.
All right, I'm gonna touch on a more low key game. Not necessarily for the team, but for a specific player. I mean, we got introduced this past weekend to DJ Lagway for Florida after Graham Mertz was injured with a concussion last week. Florida was on my upset alert as well. And that did not go well. They Florida even covered the spread. That was 36 and a half points. I did not think that was going to happen either, but he looks fantastic back there. 456 yards and 3 touchdowns. And I mean, I know it's Samford, right? I know it's an FCS team, but I just think it was worth mentioning. I mean, we saw a real athletic quarterback that looks like he could be the future of Florida out there on the field. And Florida's got a big test next week going into SEC play. Who do you start, Jacob? Do you go back to Graham Mertz, or do you take the momentum and you stay with DJ Lagway?
I mean, if Billy Napier wants to keep his job, you start DJ Lagway. I mean, he looks so much better than Graham Mertz. Just the deep ball looks explosive. The way he can move in and out of the pocket looks so much better. Feels like the offense can flow a little bit more. And this is what Billy Napier did at Louisiana, right? He had a guy that could sling it. He can guy that can throw it in tight windows. Graham Mertz can do it, but he's so limited in mobility and he doesn't have the big arm, right? Graham Mertz went to Wisconsin for a reason. Like, they hand the ball off 30 times a game in Wisconsin. You're not doing that at Florida,
Right.
right? So I think DJ Lagway is the better fit. And if Billy Napier does not want to get fired out of Gainesville after this year, I think you start DJ Lagway again just to kind of see what you have. But it is Texas A&M, so you just have to put the guy you think is going to give you the best chance to win. But to me personally, I think it's DJ Lagway. I think if you don't want a disgruntled fan base as well, I think you kind of have to start Lagway.
I think it's going to be very interesting, and that's a good point bringing up his job because I mean I said in the beginning this is going to be the pick that keeps his job, right? Even if he has a bad season, picking up DJ Lagway is going to keep him his job, and now he's got the perfect opportunity to lengthen out his career at Florida if he chooses. If DJ Lagway succeeds in these next couple of games, because this 3 game stretch is really important for Florida. Really important.
I
So,
do I do want to touch upon Colorado, Nebraska real quick,
yeah,
and
let's jump into it.
how Colorado just is not. They're just not good. They're just not a good football team. I'm not sure how to feel about Dion as a coach. Um, Obviously it's tough, seeing both your sons get hurt in the game. So I'm not going to try and be like playing that card. But Shador is not a leader, right? I saw the post game presser where he just basically threw his whole O line under the bus. Like, if I'm an offensive lineman and my quarterback's just bashing me in front of national media, like, do I really want to block for him that much?
Right.
Right. He's not treating anybody well, right? If I'm an NFL scout, I'm worried about this, the leadership style. And I give Nebraska all the credit in the world. They came in with a massive chip on their shoulder. They came
Mm-hmm.
when the crowd was crazy. Raiola looked pretty good. I think he's got to really work on the accuracy of his throwing. Like he threw a lot of balls that were behind wide receivers or leading guys too far or in the dangerous coverage. And some of his guys made amazing plays, which is what sometimes you need to get bailed out by your receivers, right?
Right.
But Colorado just like they try to establish the run game, didn't get it going. Like they had negative rushing yards all game until like I think the end, right? Shador had no time to throw. Travis Hunter was getting frustrated. Like this is a team full of individual guys. This isn't a team, right? They are just playing football for the sake of playing football. Nebraska was a team with one goal and one purpose, right? I think it's a popular quote going around on TikTok, but it was from Game of Thrones. It's like Robert Baratheon. He was talking to Cersei and he goes, what's stronger, 5 or 1? Cersei goes, 5. That's Colorado. All the Shador, Travis, Shiloh, Jimmy Horn. Like we're naming all these talented guys versus one passionate, determined, all bought in team in Nebraska. That was what's going to win because he was like, the end the quote. He's like, it's one army with one drive, with one goal, with one determination. Will always outbeat an army of 5. So think about like that's what I viewed it as. Is like Colorado has all this individual stars, but Nebraska has a team, and that's ultimately what won them the game. Obviously, if I'm Matt Rule, I'm a little worried about the second half, not
Oh
scoring
yeah.
any in the second half.
Hmm.
But luckily, your defense did what it needed to. So
Yeah.
you don't care
Uh,
how you win as long as you win the game. So
right. I think the offensive line issues is still the biggest concern here. And I mean, really, the competition for Buffalo does not get any easier. I mean, we talked about it beforehand. They have, of Big 12 schedules, the toughest one by far. And some of these teams may even come out being better than what we thought they were going to be, right? Like, I don't know that I expected Nebraska to be a 28-10 game. I expected Nebraska to be improved from last year, but I
yeah,
don't think anybody really expected this.
yeah, no, I think another, kind of want to touch on some notable near misses before we talk about the big upset of the weekend.
Okay.
Penn State mildly struggled against Bowling Green all game.
Mm-hmm.
At first, what we thought was an impressive Penn State team, we're now a little bit worried of like what the heck's going on in Happy Valley. So I'm keeping an eye on the Nittany Lions going into week 3, and as well as Oklahoma State survived a tough Arkansas team, which I think Arkansas is a lot better than people. I watched that game. Arkansas looks really good, really good. Arkansas kind of let that game get away from them offensively, without being able to score, but they looked good. They looked good. They were right there with Oklahoma State the whole game. So I'm impressed by both teams. Oklahoma State survived, the upset bid there. And then obviously, let's talk about Northern Illinois taking out Notre Dame Fighting Irish and what this means for them, right? Like,
Huge.
I don't think Notre Dame's chances of making the playoffs are over, right? Because they still play Florida State. I think they play USC and they play Clemson. I think
Mhm.
so. Like if you go 2-1, you're probably an 11, right? You're teetering on that potentially staying in, staying out, right?
Yeah, the loss to Northern Illinois really plays a factor at that point. A
But
two
it plays
loss,
a it plays a huge factor, right? If you're
right?
going up against a Missouri team, let's say, right? And let's say they lose to let's I really hope this doesn't happen, but it's Mizzou football, right? I've seen crazier things. Like let's say they lose to a ranked BC team this weekend and lose to a ranked Alabama, but they beat A&M, right? All these big SEC teams. Like, are you punishing them for playing 2 ranked opponents, or are you going to reward Notre Dame with a terrible loss to a MAC team? Which Northern Illinois is a great football team. They are by all means, but that was not a game like that game. Like Notre Dame should have handled business. But it's always something about Notre Dame because they lost to Marshall and they like battled against App State, I think. Or I might be mixing it up with UNC. I can't remember, but they play all these like teams, like a low level mid major team, and they lose.
Mm-hmm.
Like what is it about going to South Bend that just like should be teams like the hardest stadium to play in, and they just like get beat at home. Like
Right.
I don't think this hurts Notre Dame's chances. I think it means you got to win out personally. But if you go, like I said, if you're going up against a two-loss, you're a team that's two losses were against ranked opponents versus a ranked loss and a mid-major
FCS.
loss.
Yeah.
Who are you putting in, right?
No, I think the loss is going to play a huge part come the end of the season. And that ref, what a horrible spot of the ball on that third down. That game should not have been as exciting at the end as what it was. I mean, that spot on 3rd and 1 or 3rd and 3, horrible, horrible, horrible,
Did
horrible.
you see the Nebraska Colorado game? The refs were just
Oh, Alabama USF. Well, let's talk about
uh,
refs. That game was miserable. I could not get through that game. There were
that game was close until the end. And I was trying
Yeah,
to
the
figure out
score does
why.
not indicate the
Yeah.
actual outcome of that game, but
I will
the
say I'm on the Green Dog podcast with Hunter Malone and company over there, and I do season picks with like the group. There's no money involved. We're just doing it for like bragging rights. I I was pretty good this weekend. I'm between 20. It's like the ESPN pick 'em, so like we go off of that. I'm
okay,
15-5 so far. 15 and
okay.
5.
In 2 weeks, week 1 and week 2.
Georgia Tech losing was a shock. Iowa losing at the buzzer was a shock.
Yeah,
So those were my couple losses, but like everything else, like I picked Nebraska to win. Everybody else picked Colorado, and I was like, yeah, right.
yeah.
So, but no, I don't want to. Those are kind of the big ones. Obviously, Georgia Tech losing was bound to happen. I'm impressed with Syracuse. They're
Kyle
kind of
McCord looks really, really good.
taking this. They're playing with a chip on their shoulder that like is weird that I like. So I'm digging the ACC a little bit. Just in more, they're more competitive than I thought they were going to be.
Yeah, the lower
I'm really
teams.
digging it. So, and Iowa, I mean,
Yeah, they
they
pulled a
dropped 40
Nebraska,
points.
but
They dropped 40 points against without the head coach. Head coach comes back saying only scored 19. Makes you think. Anyways, DJ, do you want to go ahead and let's jump into some NFL talk here?
no, I've got one more team I want to talk about real quick. An upset that I actually called and succeeded in my upset picks here.
Oh, Illinois.
The Illinois Fighting Illini winning over the Kansas Jayhawks, ranked number 19, and a real sad win, you know, all in
Yeah.
all, because Kansas is like America's team, but Illinois looks really good, man, on both sides of the ball. They've got some work to do in the pass game, but their defense looks solid. I mean, 3 interceptions. Jalen Daniels, 141 yards passing. They really slowed a rather high powered Kansas offense down, and
Yeah.
I think Illinois should be ranked probably in the bottom 5 spots, but it was just a very good win, and I think it needed to be touched upon.
Love it. DJ, let's talk a little bit about the NFL yesterday. Kind of let's recap kind of everything kind of going on, right? We didn't, none of us got any TikToks or social media out, which we're gonna do better on just after games, depending on, everything else going on. But, Ravens, Chiefs, the big point of emphasis was the legal formation. But then
Yep.
like I watched a ton of games yesterday and not a single legal formation call was made on Sunday. So like the Ravens really got screwed over. Um, really impressed with the Eagles, right? Saquon Barkley looks amazing out
Oh my
there.
gosh.
3 touchdowns, basically just did everything. Jalen Hurts looked pretty good. Offense looks good for now. Jordan Love going down for the Packers hurts. He looked so good in that game too. He was doing everything. I'm not a fan of him doing this whole like he'll throw on his back foot a ton.
Right.
Like he'll be standing in a pocket and just like like I want him to kind of step into some throws, but like it looked really good. It was a great game.
Mm-hmm.
Luckily he avoided a major injury. He's only out for like a couple weeks post
Okay.
his ending. It's 3 to 4 with an MCL sprain. So I just want to touch upon those. I don't know if you saw those games, but Let's dive into some Sunday games here. Kind of
Yeah,
recap.
no. Let me first apologize for my people who decided to go with my picks and everything. I don't think I could have picked a worse 5 games
Yeah,
to pick.
you're not off to a great start in
No, I
the
mean just
competition.
awful.
And depending on like how we
Patriots beat the Bengals at home. Lions Rams was a great game. Fantastic game actually.
thought you had
Um
it for a second.
yeah, almost had it. Broncos Seahawks ended up being a good game, right? I didn't necessarily pick anybody to
I
win
didn't.
that game. Um Bears defense. Wow. Who would have thought the Bears defense was going to be their saving grace,
Uh,
right?
who would?
Um
I
Caleb
mean,
Williams definitely didn't do them any favors.
no.
I hate that they credit him as the first rookie quarterback to win the game since Derek Carr, but I guess he did
Technically,
start. Technically,
technically
he
he's
is.
right.
Um,
I think it was interesting because my picks technically, if we're viewing the point spread as well, I'm 4-0, but I'm 3-1. Jags blew it at the end, but the Jags did cover. Like I said, I'm not putting any money on these games, right? When we talk about underdogs, we're talking about the points,
mhm.
right? So Jags were a 3.5 point underdog. Um, Lost by 3. Technically, they cover, so that's great. But I think it was just one of those things where it's like I don't know why Dallas was an underdog against Cleveland. Cleveland looked terrible.
That
Listen,
offensive line looks. I don't
I,
know if
I hate I
maybe
hate to break
Dallas's
it.
defensive line is that good, but like,
I hate to
wow.
break. I hate to break it to you. You're in for a long, rough season in Cleveland. Deshaun is not your guy.
I
Joe
feel like that's
Flacco.
hard to say, man.
It's not. No, it's not hard to say
Why?
because you saw Joe Flacco execute the offense at a high level,
Did you
and it's
watch any
Joe
of that
Flacco.
game?
Last night, yes,
Yes. He was
Deshaun
sacked
Watson was
like
terrible.
five
I don't
times.
care. I don't care.
He had no time in the pocket. That was the big thing. Like I get, like you need to change your offense, right? But that's more of an offensive coordinator thing. You need to get the ball out quick. You need different plays.
I don't know, man.
I'm
I,
not saying
I
Deshaun
personally, I
Watson
don't
is
think
the
Deshaun's the
answer.
guy.
I'm
You're paying this guy a ton of money, and what has he done for you?
I'm
Nothing other
I
than
I
getting the
get it.
allegations.
All I'm saying is you cannot base that game. You've got an interesting 2 game stretch where you get to see the talent of Deshaun. Hopefully, the offensive line fixes itself, right? They play the
Yeah,
Giants in week 3, and then they have a decent game next week that I am looking up right now. It's the Jags. They play the Jags next week, which their defensive line is going to be is good with Walker and Armstead. Um,
and
leading
Hines
them.
Allen.
Oh yeah. Oh, I forgot about Allen. Criminy. So either the Browns offensive line needs to get it together, um, and if they don't, I think you have another opportunity to actually scope out Deshaun Watson against the Giants. And again, I'm not even saying that he's the answer. I'm just saying, based on that sample size, I don't think you can make an assumption based on that game.
I mean, I'm gonna make the assumption, and when
Yeah,
I'm right, you can tell me
you
I'm
go,
right.
buddy. Okay. All
I
right.
will.
All right. All right.
Yeah, no. I think, yesterday's games were interesting. Obviously, the Pats upsetting the Bengals was a little bit surprising, not even a little, a lot surprising. But the Bengals suck in the first like 3 weeks of the season, like every year. I don't know why. They just suck. I don't know if it's because most of them don't play in the preseason, but they just like can't win games, right? So Joe Burrow in the offense looks slow and stagnant. Now, granted, Joe missed some throws, but Joe made some throws that guys dropped or missed when they were wide open, right? But credit the Patriots. The defense was relentless. They got to Joe a ton of times, and the offense and Ramondre Stevenson just just ran the ball down their throat.
I was
Just
gonna say
played
the
smash
run
mouth.
defense for Cincinnati looks really bad,
Yeah, I was gonna say
or the Patriots look really good running the ball.
either way, they played smash mouth football and they won the game ugly, but that's how you got to do. If you're the Patriots, you got to win ugly games. That's how you're going to win games this year is winning ugly, right? So I was really impressed with them. I was watching the Bills Cardinals.
Oh wow, wow, that was a really good game. I mean, what a
That was
miss
a
by Kyler at the end of that game too.
Yeah, Kyler missing. This is where I think fans are gonna start to lose their temperance with Kyler, is that he's so good, right? Escaping the pocket, making things happen. But Marvin Harrison was wide open on like a corner route. Nobody was near him. But Kyler didn't see him because he was too busy scrambling when he didn't need to scramble. Like he put his eyes down, wanted to escape, missed the throw, right?
Right,
So I think if you're Arizona, like you love the team that you have offensively, they looked really good, right? I think they need to get Marvin Harrison a little bit way more involved. He's uber talented. You can't have him. Greg Dortch can't be your number one wide receiver yardage wise. So that's got to kind of go. If I'm the Bills, though, that was a Josh Allen game, right? If Josh
hmm,
Allen needed like if this game was later in the year and we were like we need a Josh Allen game to like solidify his MVP run, this would be that type of game.
yeah,
Problem is it's week one, we're all gonna forget about it, right?
right.
So Josh Allen to me is in a really good spot, but like a true number one receiver has to come, whether that's Kincaid or not, I'm not sure yet. But like in the red zone, like man, I can't watch Josh Allen like get fling around like a frisbee driving for the pylon. Like I know he'll put the team on his back and he'll battle through things, but man, like the Bills got to scheme some stuff up on the run game that doesn't involve your quarterback. It's the same thing we talk about with Lamar. Like we're just like Josh Allen's just like getting bullied. Like he had 4 total touchdowns, 2 rushing, two throwing.
Right.
But that was a Josh Allen game. That was not the defense wasn't. They got a couple timely stops, but Josh had to do a lot of it. Right. I saw some of them touchdowns. He had to do a lot of it. But if I'm the Bills, I'm a little worried that you don't have the complements to match up with the way Josh Allen plays.
All right.
I mean, do you have another game you want to talk about?
Um, do we want to touch over the Bears Titans and Caleb Williams first game or
No, I think there's nothing to write about. Caleb threw for 95 yards, did what he needed to do. I wish he stayed in the pocket a little bit more, but the defense bailed him out. Will Levis and the offense looked good, but they got stagnant. That's tough. They'll learn through it. They'll grow. So I think it was okay. I thought the Texans Colts game was really interesting. It was a lot
hmm.
closer than I thought it was. Anthony Richardson looks good.
What a
Um,
what a cannon of an arm. Oh
Yeah, but
my gosh.
the thing is though, is like that's how they're going to score points. It's just 50, 60 yard touchdowns. Like everything else in between, they couldn't score,
Right.
right? Like that's my thing. And then like obviously like Joe Mixon had a
I
vintage
was just about to bring that up.
150, 159 and a touchdown. Stephon Diggs had 33 yards and a touchdown with 6 targets. Tank Dell's looking like the odd man out in that offense. Nico Collins is still getting his.
Hmm.
Right? So the Houston offense is moving well, but the
Hmm.
defense is a little bit frightening, right? Giving up 27 points to a stagnant Colt offense. Like Alec Pierce had 3 receptions for 125 yards and a touchdown. Like that's just how Indianapolis is going to win games. Like I hate, like it's going to be ugly. Like Anthony Richardson, dude, he was throwing, he was 50% completion. He was nine
Right.
of 19, right? 2 of 12 with a touchdown, right? Got sacked twice, right? 56 yards on the ground on a rushing touchdown. Like I'm just, you know, this guy, Ashton Dulin, he caught one ball for 54 yards and it was a touchdown. So like the Colts can't live and die by the deep ball. Like, but problem is, I don't think Anthony Richardson can throw a ball within 10 yards. I don't think he's that accurate.
Right.
So if I'm the Colts, I gotta figure out how to help Anthony Richardson, but I'm not like I said, I liked him coming out as a prospect, but like, dude, like he barely has 20 career starts between high school, college, and the NFL. Like he just like it's just not enough football.
Right.
So I mean,
I said that coming into that draft was it was
yeah,
just it was tough to see him drafted so high on potential and not actual
talent,
right, not act like play and tape. So
fundamentals, the what you need. I think
Right.
another thing too is the Steelers, man, just winning the most Steelers game possible with just field goals is just like, get out of here, dude. I'm so sick of them. So sick of them as a franchise doing nothing and winning. Like, I'm so sick of it. I'm so sick of it. You're so boring. And you're so lazy. Arthur Smith needs to like figure out the offense because he sucks as an offensive coordinator. Right? The defense is elite as always, but God, it like if you're a Steelers fan, like how can you watch them? They're so freaking boring. I don't want to like listen. You win a game, however you win. Like in the NFL, wins are hard to come by.
Right.
But like the offense looked terrible, terrible. Justin Fields looked terrible. Like like Atlanta didn't look great either. Kirk Cousins, I think, Minnesota kind of made the right decision to go away from Kirk, but Atlanta looked terrible too offensively.
Right.
So like, what's the like? If I'm Atlanta, right? I think you're concerned. Spend all the money on quarterback. You have all the talent in the world, and yet you couldn't beat a team that didn't score a single touchdown on you.
Yeah.
I'm
It's
concerned.
it,
The
it
Bucks
was it was a weird game. You
Bucks
know,
look great. Bucks look great in the AFC South. The Panthers look miserable.
oh my gosh.
They got mollywop.
Fantasy heaven for anybody that has New
Yeah.
Orleans defense, Derek Carr on offense,
Kamara.
whoever.
Yeah.
Uh, just
They look terrible. They look bad. I mean, the Bucks look really good offensively. Mike Evans, Baker, Chris Godwin got more involved this go around.
mm-hmm.
Right? The defense was solid. Like I'm really impressed with Tampa, and I just think Baker's just got a newfound love for football down there in Tampa. I think he's loving the game. I love the way he's playing, right? And Jaden Daniels looked pretty good. Um, he had to do it
Used
all
his
though.
feet a lot. Oh
He
my
had to
gosh,
do it
16
all.
carries. He led both teams in rushing.
I know, I saw that. But yeah, But DJ, obviously Daniel Jones just looks bad. Looks
Daniel
so
Jones is bad.
he's
Daniel
thrown
Jones
more
is bad.
since his new contract. He has thrown more pick sixes than actual touchdowns. That's
Daniel
like,
Jones
and
is
then like if
bad.
I'm, but like I love this because it was like we saw the offseason hard knocks with the Giants and the owner Mara being like, I can't, I can't live with Saquon going to a division rival. Saquon goes to Philly and
And
thrives,
thrives.
3 touchdowns, over 100 total yards, rushing in, I believe, over 150 total yards. And then you go back. It's like breaking up with a bet. It's like breaking up with an ex and seeing the ex do better than you.
Right.
Right. They're dating a nice guy making 6 figures, and you're just like playing college football. Like, you know, that's just like what New York's going through right now.
Right.
Because like if I'm Malik Neighbors, I'm sick to my stomach. If I'm Brian Dable doesn't want Daniel Jones either. Like this is Daniel Jones's final year. They're gonna buy him out of his contract. Good for him. But this guy is terrible. He had one good
Mhm.
year under Dable, and now he just like can't be a competent quarterback.
He wasn't even good that year. I can't even say that he had a good year that year. He had an average year with a average team that just so happened to slip into the playoffs. That's what they had. That was not Daniel Jones was not good that year.
Last couple games I want to touch upon Chargers. Jim Harbaugh gets a win, playing great football.
I mean, that is
That
Smash
there
Mouth
was a lot of
football.
there was a lot of fights at that game though, like in the
Yeah.
stands. I saw a ton of videos, but Chargers look good. Just like you're asking Herbert to do a lot less, which I think will make Herbert better.
As you say,
Right.
again, Smash
I'm
Mouth
still not
football.
sold. I'm still not sold on him, but J.K. Dobbins 135 and a touchdown.
Well, coming back from an injury,
Yeah,
I was
and
upset that Baltimore got rid of him.
and according to Pro Football Focus, Joe Alt, when going up against Max Crosby 101, gave up 0 pressures to Justin Herbert, which is going to be huge for that Chargers offense. So,
Mm-hmm.
but yeah, And then, Sunday night football, the Rams and the Lions, Cooper Cup, 20 targets, 14. If you had him on fantasy football, you were loving it. That was vintage Cooper Cup.
Mm-hmm.
If you were an Amon-Ra St. Brown fan, I'm sorry, but don't be worried. I think the Rams schematically did this to take Amon-Ra out of the game, and Jamison Williams had a career game, and that's just like something you're probably going to have to live with,
Yep.
right? Jamison Williams looked really good. I'm a little bit worried about the way he's built. Like I saw him take some nasty, nasty falls. I thought he was done like for a couple like for the season at one point.
Yeah.
Um,
Got up slow from that one twist tackle.
yeah, Jameer Gibbs looks good. David Montgomery in the overtime, they just were like, we're just gonna run it down your throat.
Mm-hmm.
They're like, I think Dan Campbell's like, we're just gonna keep going until they give up.
And
And
they gave up.
they gave up. And credit Matthew Stafford. He looked good.
He tried his best, that's for
But
sure.
without Puka and a true number two, I think the offense is a little bit worrying now. Kyron Williams looked good. Defensively, they looked really solid. But, you know, take it with what it may be. So
Jacob, do you
defense,
think there are any teams that need to hit the panic button right now
no.
in a
If
certain situation, in a certain offensive or defensive group?
if I'm the Browns, I'm hitting the panic button on the O line. Right. That was
Okay.
very concerning. If I'm the Ravens, I'm hitting the panic button slightly on the O line because you have Derrick Henry. Just run the ball. Derrick Henry needs 20 touches a game to win. So, but if I'm anybody, I'm not hitting the panic button. It's week one, right? Everybody's still trying to feel each other out and see where it's going, but I'm not hitting the panic button on anybody yet. Um, the Bears, like, don't hit the panic button. You have a great defense. And we can tell that like if they have a great defense, they can win games. Like we
Right.
saw with Trubisky way back when, but now you have a better quarterback than Trubisky and Caleb Williams. So like
Better weapons out wide.
better weapons out wide. So,
Better weapons everywhere for that matter.
yeah, I'm not worried about any team specifically. I mean, if you're the Giants, you just like probably aren't going to watch the rest of the year. Like if you're a Giants fan, you might as well just like not even bother. Daniel Jones looks so bad. The offense looks so bad. The defense looks so bad. Um, I'm not panicking on anyone though. I'm not panicked. I think everybody's fine. If you're a Packers fan, you're a little bit panicked because you're losing Jordan Love for about 3 weeks, which is tough, but
Goes
could be
my
worse.
MVP bid.
You could have lost him for the season. So,
Right.
um, no, I'm not panicking on anybody. Not yet. Maybe ask me next week and we'll reassess, but no panic yet.
All right. And then looking ahead to week two, what are we liking game wise? What games are
Go.
we circling?
I'm really enjoying Bucks Lions at the 1 o'clock slate looks really good. It looks really interesting to me. I think that's
Yep.
an exciting game with both really good teams there. Bengals Chiefs, it will always be a good one, but with the way they kind of played last week, I'm not super excited about the Bengals just quite yet. Right. I
Right.
think, you know, prior to Jordan Love's injury, I was excited about Colts Packers, but with him being injured, it's a little bit shaky at the moment. But
I like
yeah,
Sunday night football.
I do
Bears
like
Texans.
Sunday night football. Bears Texans looks good. I'm interested to see what Dallas does with New Orleans with a kind of a stronger defense. And obviously Thursday night football looks good too. Bills, Dolphins, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'll give my official picks for Sunday and all that on Sunday morning, like we like we will do. But I think just the Dolphins, just like I think defensively still need an identity, and Jalen Ramsey's just a little bit washed up a little bit. He got cooked by Brian Thomas all game. He was getting cooked. So love what the Jags have. You got to be able to figure out how to close out games though, because 0 points in the second half is just unacceptable in any scope of the imagination. So those are some of the games kind of that I'm looking forward to. But yeah. And obviously college football next week. Eagles, not Eagles, Boston College, Mizzou. That's a big matchup. Kansas State, Arizona. We could be looking at a Big 12 preview Big 12 championship preview right there. That looks exciting. That's an exciting Friday night game.
right?
Kansas State's had to survive Tulane.
Hmm.
Arizona looked amazing, right? On the other side of the on the other side of the coin. So I'm interested to see what gives and what doesn't. So I
That was
like
a shame. It was a shame that college game day. I know it's a Thursday or a Friday, but for
college game day. College game day should have gone to Columbia, Missouri, in my opinion.
Boston College, Missouri, that wouldn't have been
That's
that would not have been a bad choice to go.
why
Twelve forty
why they're
five is a
going
weird game.
why they're going to LSU makes
I,
no sense to me. Makes no sense. Not going to LSU, going to South Carolina makes no sense. South Carolina doesn't like they're not good. They're not good. And LSU's not good. You have a top set, you have a top, like nearly a top five Missouri team taking on another ranked opponent who just took down Florida State. So like two teams on a high preseason, like the storylines are there for it to be at game day in Columbia, Missouri, not Columbia, South Carolina. So like it doesn't make any sense to me why they're going there. I'm frustrated as a Mizzou fan because it feels like game day. Like I have this issue with game day where it's like they don't pick the best games. They go to the games where it's like we know like people will like tune in. They don't go for where the best turnout's going to be. Like people are going to show up to South Carolina LSU, but like that's not the best game of the week. You should be going to the best game of the week.
right.
That's what game day used to be was the best game of the week. Now it's not. Because best
Well,
game of the week on Saturday is Mizzou BC because they're the only ranked matchup on Saturday since Kansas State Arizona is on Friday night.
yeah, the only one I would have altered to would have been Alabama, Wisconsin. I think that's a very intriguing matchup. Um, I think this Wisconsin team, I mean, again, not playing anybody in their first 2 weeks. Um, Alabama struggling right now. So I guess that doesn't necessarily pull the attention to Alabama, but Alabama, Wisconsin, they could get a lot of fits. Wisconsin could throw Alabama a lot of fits.
No, no, they
The
won't.
way the way that USF was able to move the ball for what they
Oh,
could on this
no.
Alabama team and an Alabama defense, or excuse me, an Alabama offense
Wisconsin
that
can't move.
struggles.
Wisconsin can't move the ball. They're not going to do anything.
I'll bet you said the same thing last week against USF.
They won 42-14.
Oh my gosh, they scored 28 points in the last 4 minutes of the game.
Points came, didn't they?
Do you think Wisconsin's gonna allow that?
Yes.
You're out of your mind.
Watch it. When it happens, DJ, when it happens, come back on this podcast and tell me that I'm right
We're
and
gonna
you're
do a
wrong.
points thing. I'm not saying that Wisconsin's gonna win.
You're saying, listen, if Wisconsin doesn't lose by more than 10 points, I will send you a nice gift.
All right, I'll accept that.
All right.
The slate, the Civil War, Oregon State this week. That'll be a good game, I think. Hopefully, um, with as bad as Oregon's looked, and the big question marks around Oregon State, they've got a good run game. Um, but
Yeah, I think Oregon State's gonna really cause Oregon a lot of trouble. Just because Oregon's just like I don't know what the heck's going on with them right now. I don't know
right,
what's going on. Like we mentioned before, like I don't really know what's going on with them. So we'll see what's going on with them. But yeah, we'll
yeah,
take it one step at a time, I guess.
yeah, the slate of games isn't great. It's not the best week three that we've
It's week three. It's normally not the best slate of games, but
nope. And I think the
week
next 2 weeks people are going into their bye weeks.
well, next week they're going college game day is definitely going to Norman next week because it's Tennessee, Oklahoma.
Hmm,
That's going to be a great game. Then you have USC at Michigan, USC's first Big Ten game, right?
that'll be big.
You have Utah and Oklahoma State. Actually,
They could
they
wiggle
could go
around that.
there. Either way, they're going to Oklahoma. It's just a matter if they're going to Norman or Stillwater. So next week looks
A
much.
little meatier.
Yeah, this is just it's week three. Everybody needs to get their cupcakes in, and so
But yeah,
yeah.
so that has been our college and NFL recap slash preview. going into week 2 of the NFL season coming up and week 3 of college football season. Please leave a like, comment, let us know what you like, didn't like, and what you want us to talk about. We're gonna try to incorporate some little segments here and there, little competitions between me and Jacob. So stay on your toes. Jacob, any final thoughts?
Go Tigers, MIZ.
Oh, Nebraska's ranked.
They've been ranked.
The AP poll came out. They weren't ranked this past week.
No, but you're just late to the game.
I am late to the game. Do you want to do a quick reaction to the AP poll?
No,
All right.
about time.
We'll TikTok it then. All right. Thank you for listening to The Deal with D and J.